First of all, I want to the invitation. It's really a bit of a humbling experience to be here on the eve of the G20. And as you know, Mexico will host the G20 meeting in 2012. So in a way, it's an example for us to follow, the one that Korea is setting right now. The first time I was in Korea was back in 1984. I have witnessed the transformation. And I really want to congratulate Korea on her achievements, because it's easily said, but it's very hard to achieve such a rapid transformation in such a small period of time. Especially as a Latin American, it's really admirable, and I congratulate you. Now, I generally agree with what most people have been saying up to now, but obviously we have a different perspective as a country which is neither developed nor developing, which is some sort of in between, and that has been struggling with different development models over the last few years. I'm basically going to talk about ICT in Mexico and obviously the Millennium Development Goals, but I'm going to put a lot of emphasis on what would be public policies, basically the PROSOFT program, the National Program for the Promotion of the IT Industry, and what is now in Mexico, Digital Mexico, and also the role of the private sector, which is substantial. And in the end, I'm going to try to make some conclusions which are valid, especially for Latin America. The Millennium Development Goals, well, we all know them. I'm not going to repeat them, but the strange thing about this is that, I mean, obviously, these goals must sound very, very alien to the developed world, especially to the G7 or the G8. How can we end poverty and hunger? And well, there are basically two approaches. One of them is by handouts, so reducing poverty. But the other one, and the one that we favor the most, is to generate and to distribute accordingly wealth. So you have to generate wealth to be able to actually distribute it. And here SMEs play a very important role. Now ICT can obviously have a role in both reducing poverty and generating wealth. In poverty reduction, it's basically through education, through health, and science, technology, and innovation. And in terms of generating wealth, it's very simple, just to find out through the economic activities of the private sector. But there are two very basic premises. Markets fail a lot. And everybody now agrees. I am very critical of OECD. And I say even OECD now agrees. But for ages, no, they were always very critical about countries that had economic development policies, especially for the industrial sector. And such thing as industrial development and industrial policy was a bad word in OECD. Now everybody suddenly find out that they were wrong. I mean, obviously the rest of the economies were wrong. They always knew that this was not the case. But I think it's a very interesting part of my life to be able to witness OECD recognizing a major flaw in their previous decisions. Now, the state, both national and regional, must intervene, and usually more than is deemed necessary, especially by the private sector. So how can we face the Millennium Development Goals for ICT? Well, obviously, we can generate wealth. And here, there's something very, very important that I'm going to emphasize: foreign direct investment as well as local investment. Job creation, new ICT-based enterprises. And this is particularly valid in a place like Mexico, where the banking system does not work as a banking system. You know, we are aligned, our banking system is aligned in the list of countries together with Burkina Faso. That puts Mexico City on par with Ouagadougou. And I mean, it's amazing what we have accomplished without banks in Mexico. So here we have, it's a very big issue, and the advantage of ICT is that the entrance barriers are very low. So almost anyone with $100,000 can actually enter the market, and this is really a very good news for countries in Latin America. Universal education, here e-education plays a major role, and also in gender equality. But not only the e-education, but also the entertainment industry. They can be very powerful role models, especially for women. Child health, obviously, e-health. Maternal health, also e-health. Combat HIV and AIDS, e-education and e-health. It's a combination of both. Environmental sustainability through e-education new ICT-based enterprises providing solutions for the environment. And the global partnership, in cooperation with the private sector, make available the benefits of ICT for all. That is really what e-inclusion is all about. Now, many of you may wonder, well, ICT in Mexico? We are becoming a major player in the ICT market. These are data from Gartner. I don't expect you to see them. I can have you read them myself. But Mexico is second on the list after Ireland. I mean, obviously, in this chart, there's India and the rest of the world. And regarding the rest of the world, I mean, we are almost now on par with Canada. And obviously, Canada has the huge advantage of the English language, which we normally don't. Now, in 2001, Mexico's ICT exports were less than $50 million. I was really paying a lot of attention to my Korean hosts when they were giving the facts and figures for Korea, because they sound a bit familiar, although obviously the range is much smaller. In 2009, this number was over $3.25 billion US, 65 times in only 8 years. Well, compared to Korea, this is not much, but for Latin America, it's a big thing. We are Latin America's undisputed leader. Everybody thinks that Brazil is number one. No, Brazil is number two with less than $2 billion. We lead all of Latin American foreign direct investment in ICT. We are the headquarters for Latin America for most international ICT multinational companies. 7 years ago, we were not an important ICT and service supplier. Right now, we are number 4, according to both Gartner and Forrester. And according to these firms, we have the potential to become number 2 in less than 3 years' time. And all of this has been accomplished thanks to the National Program for the Promotion of the IT Industry, which is a federal government, but which has been influenced and run at the local level by the state governments. So this is ProSoft 2.0. We emphasize the market. We put a lot of emphasis on human capital, and I think we have been very successful in the formation of human capital. We have set up a very decent legal framework. We are promoting ICT usage. We are favoring, obviously, local industry and industry associations, but in industry associations, the multinationals play a major role, and they have been very, very good at promoting SME development. We are promoting quality and financing wherever we can get it, and usually it's not from Mexican banks. Now, Jalisco is the third largest economy. Our GDP is approximately 58 billion US. It might not sound as much, but we are the same size as a state as the whole country of Ecuador. We are the same size economically as Guatemala, Belize, Nicaragua, and Honduras put together. So people normally look at the northern hemisphere, but they don't look very much towards the south. We are the epitome of Mexican culture. Whatever symbolizes Mexico outside, the tequila, the Mexican charro, the mariachi music comes from Jalisco. But our capital city, Guadalajara, we are the second largest city when we've been so since the colonial times, and it is the Silicon Valley and the IT capital of Mexico. We are also a symbol now of a profound drive towards innovation and value-added activities. We are very strong in terms of science, technology, and innovation. We have our own program. We have the largest budget at the state level. And we pioneered the National Program for the Promotion of the Software Industry. That's why when ProSoft started at the federal level, Jalisco was already leading 6 of the 7 strategies of ProSoft. And something which is very unusual, we are very focused. I mean, obviously, we measure, and that's something that is not very usual. ICT represents 1.7% of our GDP nowadays, and the growth has been so rapid that it's called the Mexican Economic Miracle by the Economic and Social Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean of the United Nations.